Gemara talks about the reading being Vashem Pakada Sarah, and that's the real chapter 21, verse 1 of Genesis. That's the real reading. It then just continues, just keeps going for day 2 and reads the Akedah. But originally there was only one day of Rosh Hashanah. Then the reading would have been Hashem Pakada Sarah. God remembered Sarah. One of the vorts I heard, which today in relationship to the Daf Yomi, is that, and I said this in the Parsha discussion today, that we think, oh, why is it God remembering Sarah, the Torah reading for Rosh Hashanah? God remembers Sarah and gives her a child. But the thought that I saw from Rabbi Dessler, not necessarily why this was chosen as reading for Rosh Hashanah, but about the power of this piece, is that we're being reminded, when God remembers Sarah, I was thinking, we're being reminded about Hashem's love for Bnei Yisrael. That whether or not on Rosh Hashanah, whether or not when we come before God, whether or not we've done, everything the right way. Not everybody has, nobody has, obviously, but we're being told whether or not we're going to be redeemed, that God will give us what we're praying for, like God redeemed Sarah. We're being told that Hashem's love for us is infinite. And we're being told what's the most love, that the greatest love that we can imagine is the love of a mother for a child. That's the greatest love that we can ever imagine. I think it's even greater than the father's love, is the mother's love for a child. Mother carries the baby. And so that's what we're reading this story, that Sarah and also Hagar, they give birth to these children, and their love for them is just infinite and unending. And we're being reminded that God's love for us is infinite and unending. God is our creator. So just like every mother loves their child, or if the mother, once in a while you hear about a mother who leaves their child, then that's, there's something incredibly wrong with them. But that's the way God loves all of us. God is our mother. We often refer to God as our father, but here we're saying God is our mother. God is our mother. Okay, Vashem. It's not, by the way, whoever is reading this, don't read it as Va'ado Shem. No, it's Vado Shem. Pakad es Sarah. God, the word Pakad means to visit, but here we're going to say remembered Sarah kasher amar, like he said. Vayas Hashem Sarah kasher diber. And God did to Sarah like he spoke. God remembered Sarah like he said, and God did to Sarah like he spoke. So it's obviously a pregnant verse. We have to look at the verse and try to see what it means. Vashem pakad es Sarah, Rashi says, Samach parsha zu lekan. The previous passage was about Avimelech, that Sarah had been captured by Avimelech, the king of the Philistines, and that God had visited Avimelech with travails and illnesses, and as a consequence, they were healed. You might want to get a Chumash check. We're doing Genesis, the Torah reading for Rosh Hashanah, so you might want to get one of Rabbi Steingeltz's red Chumashim over there.
I have it. I didn't read Genesis.
Right. So the previous passage was about how Avimelech had captured Sarah, kidnapped her, and as a result of this, God came upon Avimelech and he punished him with the ailments that it doesn't say exactly, but the indication is that it says, what does it say in the verse? It says, what was the ailment? He says, God came to him in a dream and told Avimelech, you're going to die because of the woman you have taken. So why is this passage next to the passage of Abraham remembered Sarah, of God remembered Sarah? Well, to teach you, whoever requests mercy for his friend, and he himself needs that same thing, he'll be answered first. Okay, so if you know this, if you really want to get answered first for your prayers, first pray for somebody else. That's a little bit, I don't know what kind of logic that is. That if you really, really know, it sounds like Monty Python skit. That if you really know, you'll pray for somebody else first, and then you'll be answered for your prayers. But really, it's such a powerful message for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We're spending all day in prayer, or significant amount of time in prayer, more than we usually do. And most of us are, when we prioritize our prayers, we're praying for ourselves. We all have lots of things to pray for. So most of us are praying for that, but we're being told here that if you really want to have your prayers answered, the first thing you should pray for is pray for others. Should have a prayer of generosity, a generous prayer.
But is it possible it works only for Abraham because he was the first? He didn't do this intentionally. He wasn't instrumental, right? He wasn't trying to get something for himself. He just happened to get it. But now we get this lesson, which is this is how you should do it. Anyone who does it with the view to getting something for themselves, it's just an indirect way of seeking self-interest.
Well, so I guess the answer is either most people don't know this Rashi, or else you'd have to say, Ben, that God knows our true intent. So if you really just pray for the other person so that you can yourself be blessed, then it's not going to work. You have to. Oh wow! Just so you know, wow. I'm just going to tell this to Seth. Got a text from my wife that they are still in the camp.
That's amazing news,
Why is that?
because they're gonna be late.
Oh no, I'm just telling you. Like, do you track them on their iPhone?
No, I'm not tracking anything, but I thought I had to leave in 10 minutes.
Oh.
Saying that's not the case.
Text Ronnie. You text her so that because it's easier for me. She just texted me that. So just text her. She'll probably offer to pick up your daughter, but you say you can't do it, right? I'm just saying, but just text her and say, "What's this breaking news?" Because they don't really. I'm not criticizing them. They're running our kids are in a weekend kickoff, and I'm not criticizing the school, but the school's priority is not the parents not wasting their time by coming on time to pick up their kids. The school's priority is giving the kids a good program. So they're not necessarily going to tell us exactly when the kids leave. That's the point. They're in a place called Camp Louise. Sounds like a military camp. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so therefore it says, so I don't know, Ben, what I'm trying to say is that I don't really think it means specifically, you know what it's like? Ben, there's another parallel law. There's a law that if you ask somebody by the way, if people are hot, I can lower the air conditioning. Are people hot? Yeah, okay, Dan, you're right there. You could just lower it to like 7, whatever you want to put it on. I put it up to 75. We could put down probably 73 or 72. You have to do both.
It used to be chilly.
Yeah, I raised it because people were, but there's a law about Yom Kippur that if you ask somebody for forgiveness 3 times, they have to grant you. Do that one too, Dan. Yeah. If you ask somebody for forgiveness 3 times, they have to grant you for forgiveness. So I had a friend, and he said, this guy came up to me and said, well, can you, he did something really terrible to him. He said, can you forgive me? And he's like, I'm not really sure. We have to have a conversation about this. I'm not really sure I'm ready for it. So he's like, can you forgive me? Can you forgive me? I just asked you 3 times. Now the sin's on you. No, so these are conceptual approaches to asking for forgiveness. It means if you ask over a period of time and then the person's still not ready to grant it, there's something wrong. So too, when it comes to prayer, the concept of prayer is the most effective prayer is where we're reaching beyond ourselves, where we're not only thinking about ourselves, we're just praying. And our prayers will be better if we're praying with a more expansive approach to prayer. If we're not just, because the purpose of prayer has to be seeing a larger view of the world, getting context and perspective, because otherwise all we care about is our own hanging fingernail and not the just tremendous needs in the world. So that's the whole purpose of prayer. So that's what I think is the basic approach of this teaching. Not, okay, this is a end around.
It was a mischievous question, but thank you. That's
No, it's, yeah. That's the whole concept of like, when you have these statements in the Talmud, like whoever says Ashrei is guaranteed a place in the world to come. Whoever says the Ashrei prayer every day is guaranteed a place in the world to come. It doesn't mean whoever says the Ashrei prayer has like this get out of jail free card. It means whoever lives by the values of that every single day. Okay, so that's what it says. Vayitpalel Abraham, and the next thing is Hashem pakat et Sarah. God remembered Sarah. Kodem shepakta kfar. God had redeemed Sarah. He had already remembered her before he had healed Avimelech. So that's what Rashi is saying. That even before he healed Avimelech, he had remembered Sarah. So why does it say God remembered Sarah like he spoke? Behirayon, with pregnancy. Kasher diber, as he had spoke, bu'eda, with childbirth. So ve'echan hi amira, ve'echan hu adiber. Where did he say this and where did he speak it? Amira, the saying is where God said, "Aval Sarah ishtecha," but indeed your wife Sarah, that your wife Sarah will give birth to a child. She'll give birth to your covenantal child. And God said, "Diber hayad var Hashem el Avram." The word of Hashem came to Avram, the Brit bein Tarim, and he said, "Lo yirash bazeh." And this one will not inherit you, but Isaac will inherit you. He brought forth the heir from Sarah. So just in this one very simple verse, we see a lot of powerful concepts about prayer and about healing and about connecting to God in Rosh Hashanah. Vatar vateu et Sarah Avram ben Uzkunav, Mamoed asher diber oto Elohim. And Sarah conceived and bore a son unto Abraham, Uzkunav. Now this reminds us of the word that Yosef was called the Ben Zikunim, the elder son. So Ben Uzkunav, that Sarah gave birth to Avram, a son in his old age. What does it mean in Abraham's old age? Also Sarah's old age. Moed asher dibero to Elohim, at the time which God had spoken with him. What does that mean? Moed asher dibero to Elohim. Rashi says, Dimalil yate, literally which he spoke it. Et hamoed diber vikava. He stated and fixed an appointed time. What is going on here? Kisha amar lo Avraham, when he said to Avram, at this time I will return to you. Who said that to Abraham? At this time I'll return to you. Who said that to Abraham? Remember? Anybody remember? Who said to Abraham, at this time I'll return to you? Exactly. Jeffrey Burt says that one of the angels, when they came to visit him, said, at this time I'll return to you. But there's the Talmud is going to have a question about this. Saravo Srita, he made a little mark, a scratch in Bakot on the wall, and Amar always said to Abraham, when this time arrives at this scratch in the next year, she will give birth. The only problem is, there's a little bit of a problem with this. What's the problem? When was Isaac born? Does anybody know when Isaac was born? No. What time of year? You could Google me to check me on this, but I believe the Talmud says that Isaac was born on Rosh Hashanah, and that's why we read this passage on Rosh Hashanah. However,
it depends on Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua's argument about what is the beginning of the year, right?
No, I think the Talmud says that we read this passage on Rosh Hashanah because Abraham was born on Rosh Hashanah. I think it says it on the bottom. What? Isaac was born on Rosh Hashanah. That's what the Talmud says. I checked. So I'm saying, check what I'm saying. That the Talmud says that why do we read this story on Rosh Hashanah? Hashem Pakad Sarah, because he was born on Rosh Hashanah. That's what the Talmud says. If you look up in the Sefaria, the psukim that cite Hashem Pakad Sarah, you look up where it appears in the Talmud. I think the Talmud says that. But what?
Not good.
You were correcting me?
Well, I'm finding something. This is a little bit random for Sefaria. Rabbi Yehoshua disagrees, and he goes through Nisan, the world was created.
Right.
And on Passover, Isaac was born.
Right. So there's
Rosh Hashanah, Sarah, Rachel, etc.
Okay, so one approach said he was born on Pesach, right? The Talmud says, but I thought another approach said So he was remembered on Pesach, but then it was 6 month birth. Then that's a problem. You can't say Isaac was only conceived for 6 months if he was remembered on Rosh Hashanah. And also the other thing is that they came to him and they said at this time, so the angels came on Pesach. The angels came on Pesach. That's why he has to say at this time the next year. That's what I was saying is the contradiction, because at this time next year, that Isaac, that they came to visit him on Pesach, because he served them matzot. So that's why we have a little bit of a complicated issue. You have that Talmudic passage there, Rabbi Yosef? Did you pull it
I
up?
didn't find it, but all I'm trying to say is basically exactly it's Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And
Okay.
Rabbi Yeshua's proof because of how Lot served them matzah,
So that means that they
which
came
was
on
the next night. Yeah, so it's just basically which Rosh Hashanah are we talking about? It's not when he actually was born.
Okay.
The question is just which Rosh Hashanah are we talking about? And
Yeah, but it says God remembered Sarah, but then he's not remembering her on Rosh Hashanah. Either way, there's only 6 months between Rosh Hashanah and Pesach.
right, so
So-
Elu Be'elu, right? So it's
But it doesn't matter because it's not going to work. You need to be pregnant for 9 months, not 6 months. Okay,
no
let's,
one is when Rashi says that he made a mark on the wall about when the sun gets to here, could be Pesach. The other option is that could be Rosh Hashanah.
no, everybody says they came to her on, they came to Abraham on Pesach. Nobody says they came on Rosh Hashanah. That's the way I remember the Gemara.
You just said two opposite things. That's what I'm saying. Where we learned that in Rosh Hashanah that there's two Rosh Hashanah. One is on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and one is Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. And
What does it matter? Oh, here we go. Just Seth,
Yes, I'm good. I'm all set now.
did you get an email from Berman just now?
I'm good. I got the direct emails from Lior and the kids.
Oh, okay, fine. All right, just making sure, because otherwise,
Ride this out as long as I can.
yeah. Why does it matter? Steve is asking the question why it matters. Okay, I'll tell you why it matters. Aside from it always matters to know with accuracy, it matters because we want to understand the theme of the holiday. Oh, hello, Michael. Hello, Barbara. Hello, my friends. We want to understand. We want here. Maybe let's give Michael a chair. Okay, fine. We want to understand the theme of the holiday. Is if it makes sense, first of all, why this reading is chosen to be read on. Why this reading is chosen to be read on Rosh Hashanah if we say he was born on Rosh Hashanah. But if it was happened on Pesach, why are we reading it? And the real thing is, what is the nature of the day of Rosh Hashanah? Is Rosh Hashanah a holiday of redemption? That if he was born on Rosh Hashanah, then it'd be symbolic of the idea that it's a holiday of redemption. That's the concept. What's the matter, Dan?
Pesach's also a holiday of redemption.
Yes, I know. Pesach is naturally a holiday of redemption. Everybody knows and assumes that Pesach is a holiday of redemption. The question is Rosh Hashanah also a holiday of redemption? Usually people associate Rosh Hashanah with a holiday of judgment, a holiday of fire and brimstone. But if we were saying like this, it's a holiday of redemption. It's a holiday of redemption.
You always thought.
That's what I say.
Assume that we're gonna be forgiven and
That's Yom
Yom
Kippur.
Kippur is celebratory. Well, Rosh Hashanah starts the process.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's why it matters. So how do you think we got to that point? We didn't get to that point on our own. We got to that point because of the traditions that's being taught. So also the rabbis always like to associate the births of great people with the holidays that they're born on as a symbolic of their character. So is Isaac a Rosh Hashanah or is it a Passover? So they're two different themes. Really, even if we say Rosh Hashanah is a holiday of redemption, it's also a holiday of judgment. And what is the motif of Isaac? These are rabbinic approaches to Isaac. Is the motif of Isaac, Michael, is the motif of Isaac about redemption, or is the motif of Isaac about the Yom Adin? I just want to say, as we're studying, I know that today is a very emotional day for many people, especially for Barbara, because she lost her dear friend on September 11th, Barbara Olson. And I know Barbara goes to sit by her bench that's dedicated in her memory. And we should also mention the names of my friends who passed away, who were murdered on this day, but actually some of them, Mark Rosenberg was a friend of mine and from high school, and he just got a job as a trader on one of the top floors like the week before, and he died tragically that day. And then Andrew Zucker was a friend of mine from Riverdale, and he was seen climbing up the stairs to rescue a woman in a wheelchair because he was a volunteer firefighter.
He went to Dickinson.
You knew him. Yeah.
And my brother's best friend, Scott Saber, was a guest lecturer in Windows on the World that day.
And was he killed?
Yeah.
So we remember, if anybody else wants to mention the names of someone we're remembering who they were friends with or that day, we study Torah in their memory, we keep their names alive, there will come a time where it's just a day like any other day in America, but that's the way the world works, that it may be 50 years, 70 years, but we can do our part to mention the names and the souls and try to remember that. So that's our responsibility. So that's what it is. Vashem Pakad, that's another idea. Remembering is a divine action. Remembering itself is a divine action. God doesn't forget. That's one of the themes of Rosh Hashanah also. God never forgets. Okay, we have to dive in Mincha. Okay, I'm sorry. We got a little bit of a tangent today, but it's all because of the power of the day and the power of Rosh Hashanah. Let us dive in Mincha. Yeah, Shekoyach.